Hello, I'm Patrick O'Brien, co-founder of executor.org. In just a couple short minutes today, I'll cover the topic of executor compensation. Did you know that you can be compensated for your work as an executor? It's likely an option if you'd like to be paid for your service. Sometimes executor compensation is spelled out in the will. In most cases, though, it is not. When you talk to the probate judge, you should ask about executor compensation if you're interested. You may be eligible to be paid a flat fee, a rate per hour, or a percentage of the estate depending on the state of residency of the will writer. So, how do you determine if you're interested? Here are some things to consider. How much is an executor paid? In most cases, you can be paid a reasonable amount. You should ask the judge how that's defined in your state. The calculation and options can vary from state to state. In some states it can be in the 4% range, in some states a little higher, a little lower, and again, there are different formulas state by state. What are the ramifications of being paid? You may feel better or worse about your service if you're compensated for those efforts. You may want to be the executor as an act of service for a loved one and not want to be paid. That said, if your service as an executor will take you away from your job, or you'll be dealing with complex estates or challenging beneficiaries, it may feel like you're not being fair to yourself if you're not compensated. On the other hand, you may not want to have to explain your decision to accept compensation to beneficiaries who will probably not understand the complexity of the role or why you'd like to be paid. Executor compensation is paid out of the estate assets. By accepting compensation, you may be accused of taking money out of the estate, even though getting compensated is perfectly legal and acceptable. How much will you personally sacrifice in this role? Serving as executor does take time and both physical and mental energy. The more complex an estate, the more time it will take the executor to complete the required tasks. You may also have to deal with challenging family dynamics, or the unhappiness of some beneficiaries about directions spelled out in the will, or judgment calls you'll need to make along the way. If you don't live in the same city as the deceased, you may also want to factor travel time into your thinking. With most estates, the role will require multiple trips to complete the work. Another consideration is whether or not you're financially able to serve without taking a fee. If you're named as executor in a will, the will writer wanted you to serve. If you're unable to serve without taking a fee because it will eat into your actual work hours and therefore affect your paycheck, you may have to accept compensation or decline your appointment as executor. Is that really what the will writer would have wanted? Another consideration is taxes. In most states, money you inherit if you are a beneficiary is not subject to taxation. Money earned in your role as an executor is taxable income. Understand the potential tax implications of accepting executor compensation before making your decision. The after-tax compensation is probably the most important number to consider. One final question is whether or not there's any additional work if you accept compensation. Basically, the role is the same if you accept compensation or not. However, if you choose to accept compensation, be sure to keep detailed and accurate records of your work and the time spent on it. That said, we would suggest this for all executors so that you have good records in case a beneficiary is unhappy with the job you've done, and that can happen. So, what will you do? Accepting or declining executor compensation is a very personal decision. The role is hard, so regardless of what you decide, you'll likely face numerous challenges along the way. Stay positive, be persistent, and you'll get through these 100+ steps in the process. And of course, let us know if we can help. At executor.org, our goal is to save you time, save you money, and lower your stress as you navigate this difficult process.